Ranking every single legendary weapon in Destiny 2 based on its effectiveness in PVE, so that never again will I be asked, is this weapon good? These are obviously all my opinion, however my opinion is objective fact and anyone who challenges it shall be silenced with force. This isn't a dictatorship, I promise. Starting out with primary weapons for this video. Duty Bound. Kinetic 600 RPM adaptive frame can roll with stats for all 1 for all, A tier. It's worth mentioning that I'm not ranking the adept variants because adept weapons are only very slightly better. False Promises. Kinetic high impact frame can roll with overflow rampage. Would be good if 360 RPMs were good, but they're not. Bottom of B tier. End of story. The horror story, that is. We're looking at a precision frame kinetic auto with some really awful perks. If you've ever had the misfortune of picking one of these up, you're really missing out. D tier. Firefight, one of the 3 separate weapons in the game that have fire in the name, alongside Friction Fire and Fire and Forget. Despite having a cool name though, it doesn't have cool perks nor a cool archetype. Threat Detector Surrounded is probably your best bet, but even that's underwhelming. C tier. Gnawing Hunger, 600 RPM Void Adaptive Frame. Nostalgia is telling me to put this in A tier, but it's high B at best. Subsistence Demo or Rampage is always a decent option. Herod C, same deal as False Promises, would be good if High Impact got buffed. Unlike False Promises however, this can roll with Subsistence Frenzy or stats for all 1 for all, middle of B tier. Crate, a 600 RPM with some nice stasis synergy in the form of Subsistence Headstone, also feels really nice to use so it's getting an A tier. Reckless Endangerment, that's the shotgun. Reckless Oracle, shockingly only 16 perk combinations. Outlaw Demo is decent but nothing special, low B tier. Scathelock, pretty much a kinetic Gnawing Hunger, B tier. 7th Seraph Carbine, there's actually 2 variations of this gun. The old one's terrible but the new one can get Reconstruction Frenzy or 4th times Target Lock. Despite being a 450, not bad by any means, low A tier. Age-Old Bond, it's a 360 with atrocious perks, bottom of C tier. Shadow Price, one of the only endgame viable precision frames. Overflow or 4th times with 1 for all is quite nice, high B. Sorrow's Verse, 600 RPM arc auto from Crucible. Lots of variation here, but I like Subsistence Frenzy. Bottom of A tier. Sweet Sorrow. Bungie loves the word sorrow, it seems. Stats for a 1 for all on this is a really nice roll. A tier. Forward Path. The only path you'll be seeing with this gun is the one that leads you straight to the bin. Bottom of C tier. Last Breath. My personal favourite kinetic auto, although I can only really do A tier. It looks cool and it's a 600 RPM, but it's nothing revolutionary. Demo Frenzy is good, but it's pretty basic. The number, more like the number of times you'll be killed while using this is pretty high. 450 precision frame with nothing really going on in the perk department. C tier. The Summoner, mid A tier, lots of good perks. Tiger Spite, 450 precision frame that rolls with Overflow Frenzy. Brilliant perk combo, meh archetype, low B tier. Amit, congratulations to Amit, you're the first S tier of the video. It's craftable, the red border is easy to get, and it can roll stats for all incandescent for great ad clear and solar synergy. It's a 450, but it really doesn't matter in this weapon's case. Arc Logic, quite underrated, it can get Overflow Frenzy and it's a 600 RPM, A tier. Arctic Haze, speaking of underrated, a 720 RPM that can roll triple tap Vorpal, a nice option for high-end PVE if you have to use an auto for whatever reason. High B tier. Braytech Werewolf, this cousin to Horror Story can roll Pugilist Swash, which is marginally better. It's still a 450 though, C tier. Chroma Rush, a 720 RPM that can score Feeding Frenzy Kill Clip. Kill Clip got nerfed though, which limits this thing's potential, low A tier. Chrysaria Mellow, somehow I didn't have to look up the name of this thing. High impact frame, 4th times Frenzy, high C tier. Come to Pass, a time when I use this weapon will never come to pass. Stats for a 1 for all is nice, but it's a high impact frame, low B tier. Dark Decider, a 720 that can roll Volt Shot. Might have to play Iron Banner next time it rolls around, wow. Never used it, but based off of Volt Shot alone, it gets A tier. Moving on to bows, I'll keep this section brief because they're all basically the same. Imperial Needle, Archer's Tempo Frenzy, been a bit power crept, so low B tier. Lun Lunata, a perfect example of a weapon that sounds much better in an American accent than my British one. Lun Lunata versus Lun Lunada. Rate my American accent in the comments. Either pronunciation, this isn't a very good weapon. Some stasis synergy, but nothing really to write home about. C tier. Point of the Stag. If you didn't know, this is actually still available. It's an arc precision frame with Archer's Tempo Vorpal. Very solid option considering it's really easy to get. B tier. Strident Whistle, the classic roll Archer's Tempo Explosive Head or Archer's Tempo Incandescent for ad clear and solar synergy, A tier. Tripwire Canary, I'm pretty sure Bungie uses an AI to come up with the names at this point. What on earth is a tripwire canary? A really good bow, that's what it is. Archer's tempo explosive head or successful warm-up is great, also craftable. Top of A tier. Tyranny of Heaven, exactly the same roll as the other bows, I just absolutely hate how it feels. C tier. Under Your Skin, same roll as Tripwire Canary, it's just void. A tier. Whispering Slab, same roll as Point of the Stag, just kinetic. B tier. Whistler's Whim, interesting roll of rapid hit kill clip, not very good though. C tier. Wolftone Draw, worst version of Tripwire Canary that doesn't even have explosive head. B tier. Accrued Redemption, can get your standard bow roll but it feels horrible due to low base stats. C tier. Arsenic Bite, double damage perks are nice but not that nice. Low B. Biting Winds, more of a PvP bow this one. D tier. Finally, Fell Taradiddle, a name which is really fun to say. It's also the best kinetic bow in the game. A tier, but below the other crafted ones since it's kinetic. IS Luna, I debated for a while whether to put this one in A or S. It's the go-to headstone weapon for any stasis build, not to mention the nice damage roll rapid hit kill clip. Not to mention, unrelenting in the first column, you just don't die. Low S tier. Speaking of S tier, Fatebringer, one of the best hand cannons in the game. It can roll double damage perks in the form Explosive Payload Frenzy. You can also get the standard Explosive Fireflow roll 2 for ad clear. S tier. Finite Impactor, stats for a 1-for-all? It's pretty average. C tier. Frontier's Cry, again stats for a 1-for-all, but it's also a 180. D tier. Ikelos Hand Cannon, would be D if not for the dominance of Gerfalcons and its synergy with Repulsor Brace. As such, Subsistence Repulsor Brace is a decent roll on this. High C tier. Judgment, phenomenal hand cannon, just shy of S tier. It can roll demo timed payload, giving you both ability, energy and damage. Great pick for your kinetic slot if you're using abilities. A tier. Loud Lullaby, a fitting name for one of the loudest and most obnoxious sounding hand cannons in the entire game. It's a kinetic 120 that can roll subsistence explosive payload. Nice roll, not the worst archetype. B tier. Nation of Beasts, this was the gun to get back in the day. Outlaw Dragonfly on the curated roll sounds pretty nice, but not nice enough to warrant doing the Morgeth challenge. High B tier. Nature of the Beast. I like to think that someone at Bungie took Nation of Beasts, swapped around a couple of letters and called it a day. This can get exactly the same roll, but it's a 180, so it's going in D tier. Ancient Gospel, again same roll as Nation of Beasts. High B. Posterity, despite being a 180 as of Season of the Seraph, this thing is great. Volt Shot, combined with Frenzy. If this was a 140, this would easily be S tier. For now though, it's going in A tier. Pure Poetry, I've never heard anyone talk about this gun, and rightfully so. Maybe Outlaw Frenzy would be good? C tier. Rose, I was going to write this thing off as a PvP weapon until I saw it had rapid hit and explosive payload. Low A tier. 7th Seraph Officer Revolver. Not bad with reconstruction redirection, but not good either. Low B tier. Something New, except it's just a copy paste of IS Luna in a worse archetype, so not something new at all. B tier. Survivor's Epitaph, a wide variety of perks on this gun, but unfortunately it's more of a PvP weapon. C tier. Pally, definitely the best void hand cannon in the game with a roll of overflow and 1-for-all. Wish it had a payload perk, but we'll have to make do. A tier. Steady Hand, I was absolutely in love with an outlaw swashbuckler roll on this gun back in Season of the Chosen. No idea why though, it was awful. High C tier. True Prophecy, much like Steady Hand, I had a phase where I'd use this thing constantly. It is considerably better though. High B tier. Annual Skate, a 140 adaptive frame that can roll triple tap timed payload. Not bad by any means, low A tier. Vulpecula, the blueprint for IS Luna. Like something new though, it's in a much worse archetype. High C tier. Waking Vigil, the Nation of Beasts for people that don't want to do the Morgeth challenge. I keep wanting to say the Morgott challenge, I've been playing too much Elden Ring. High B tier. Zayuli's Bane, controversial opinion, but this is the best hand cannon in the game. Explosive payload incandescent for solo synergy, or explosive payload 1-for-all for an absurd amount of damage. Poor reload, but mods next season will fix that. S tier. Allstringer, the definition of a PvP weapon. Wouldn't recommend using this thing at all, it's going in low C tier. Bottom dollar, you can bet your bottom dollar that this one's going to be good. These puns are getting worse and worse. Possibly the best 120 hand cannon. I don't know, this was also part of my 120 phase in Chosen. Outlaw Dragonfly or Rapid Hit Explosive Payload are two nice options. High B tier. Cantata, another gun that sounds ridiculous with a British accent. Let me restart that. Cantata, more specifically the 57th version. Can get rapid hit timed payload, it's kinda nice. Low A tier. Criminal's Dagger. This isn't Sunset according to D2's Gunsmith. It's a 120 that can roll with triple tap explosive. Low B tier. Crisis Inverted. Very underrated weapon, can roll rapid hit 1 for all. High B tier. Dire Promise. More like I dire promise you'll uninstall the game if you keep using this gun. I should really stop doing that, but I'm not going to. It's been pretty power crept, C tier. Exalted Truth. There's actually 7 different guns with truth in the name. Hard Truths, Truth, the Permanent Truth, Archimedes Truth, Truth Teller, Exalted Truth, and Half Truths. Outlaw Repulsor Brace could be good for Gerfalcons users, but other than that, this hand cannon isn't very good. C tier, and that's the truth. Next up, we've got Pulse Rifles, starting off really strong with Insidious. It's an aggressive frame 4-burst pulse that can roll Dragonfly or Demo in the first column and 1 for all in the second. Easily top of A tier. Last Perdition. I would have ranked this gun highly, but then I discovered its dark secret. Perdition refers to a state of eternal punishment and damnation into which a sinful and unrepentant person passes after death. Guess where else Perdition is mentioned? Religion. Conclusion, Bungie ripped off the Bible. D tier. Jurassic Green. Super underrated, it can get Subsistence Incandescent. Just wish it felt a little better to use. A tier. Jan 7 Rifle. Looks to be a Last Perdition ripoff, isn't much better. Can get Disruption Break in the first column though, which ain't bad. C tier. Legal Action. A 340 RPM high impact frame. Some good perks, but nothing really works together. Like you've got Feeding Frenzy in the first column, but Regular Frenzy in the second. Not a fan. Take me to court all you want. High C tier. Ogma. Solar lightweight frame. Love the feel of this weapon. You can roll it with Stats for all or Demo with 1 for all, which is pretty nice. High B tier. Peace of Mind. Rapid fire kinetic pulse from Season of the Risen. Only reason I like this is because it's a rapid fire, not because it's actually viable if you look at the perks. B tier. Premonition. Ugly weapon with an uglier set of perks. Low C tier. Sacred Provenance. Like a lot of the garden weapons, terrible base stats and very few perks to choose from. It's a fun archetype though and can roll rapid hit kill clip. B tier. Smite of Moraine. Absolutely melts champions with a focused Fury Vorpal roll. However, it is a kinetic, meaning it can't benefit from burn modifiers or a subclass synergy. Demo 1 for all is quite nice for general play. I'm tempted to put this in S, but I'm gonna have to go A. BXR Battler. As much as I absolutely adore this weapon, it's definitely not S tier. Love my Demo kill clip roll, but I'll acknowledge that Demo Incandescent is probably better. High A tier. Stars in Shadow. 340 RPM high impact frame. Those words alone should put this in D tier, but at least this can get kill clip or Dragonfly. Low C. Stay Frosty. Interesting that it can roll Thresh in the first column, don't see that too often. Pair that with Desperado or Headstone for a pretty solid weapon. Low A tier. Syncopation. Another Stasis Pulse. It's not as viable though since it's not a nice frame. Low B tier. Speaking of not nice frames, Messenger. Rapid hit Desperado sounds nice in theory until you actually use it and it feels horrible. B tier. Third Axiom. More of a PvP weapon, but it's not too bad. Feeding Frenzy 1 for all is nice, but there are better options. C tier. Time Worn Spire can get the exact same roll, but it's a rapid fire frame, meaning I might actually think about using it. B tier. Yesteryear. Subsistence Repulsor Brace is kinda good, but it gets completely overshadowed by how easy Veely's X is to get. C tier. I think I actually forgot to include Veely's X on this list, so I'll rank it now. Aggressive Burst Frame that's really easy to get with Repulsor Brace and a damage perk? Yes please, A tier. Chattering Bone. Ah yes, I love opening shot on my Pulse Rifle. This thing is almost worse than Last Perdition. D tier. Cold Denial. Used to love Feeding Frenzy multi-kill clip on this. Is it practical though? Not in the slightest. High C tier. Darkest Before, a nice little rapid fire pulse with an overflow 1 for all roll. Not bad in the slightest, high B tier. Disparity, basically the PVE messenger. 4-burst aggressive frame with rapid hit Desperado. Haven't actually got my hands on this roll yet, but it sounds super fun. A tier. Forge's Pledge. The Forge better have pledged never to use this weapon. I guess stats for a 1 for all is alright. C tier. Grid Skipper. This was the only good Void Pulse for the longest time until they added Yesteryear and Veely's X. Literal rubbish in the first column. It is a rapid fire though, low B tier. Hailing Confusion, otherwise known as the feeling I get when I ever see anyone using this thing. I like it weirdly, but that's not the point. Surplus Wellspring is the only half decent roll, C tier. And Horror's Least. Same boat as Grid Skipper, nothing good in the first column. Perpetual Kill Clip maybe? B tier. Starting off Scout Rifles with Pointed Inquiry. Easily the worst archetype and it has a rough set of perks. D tier. Doesn't give the best first impression for Scout Rifles, I'll say that much. Royal Chase. Oh dear. A slightly better archetype but not by much. The perks are horrendous too, another D tier. Servant Leader, the polar opposite of the first two, but I should have put this one first really. Lovely roll of rapid hit, one for all, and a nice frame. Easy A tier. Staccato, could this thing always roll with explosive payload? This thing is a lot better than I thought it was. Triple tap 2? The only thing stopping me from putting this in A tier is the precision frame, high B tier. Talons of the Eagle, had no idea this wasn't Sunset. Can get explosive payload, but it's a real nasty frame, which is an issue for scouts, low C tier. Tarnished Metal. Okay, I'll stop with the Elden Ring references. This is a really, really good scout. Basically an Arc Night Watch, which is just incredible. I think I go S tier here, but this one's on the border. Tears of Contrition. I would make some terrible pun about how you'll only have tears of sadness using this thing, but it's actually quite good. Triple tap explosive is nothing to overlook. High B tier. Guiding Sight. Nothing noteworthy here, rapid hit one for all is alright. C tier. The Scholar. I think we've got a contender for the worst weapon in the game here. High impact frame, check. Terrible perks, check. Have to play trials, check. D tier, check. Transfiguration. More like transfigure your life out if you use this thing seriously. I've ranted enough about high impact frames at this point, D tier. But marginally better than Pointed Inquiry and Royal Chase. Aisha's Embrace. Not my cup of tea personally, but I can recognise that it's good. Triple tap or stats roll with Vorpal and a rapid fire frame. A tier. Trustee, as of this season a really solid option. Reconstruction Incandescent sounds like a blast. Pun not intended, I feel like I need to clarify at this point. A tier. Vision of Confluence. Super underrated weapon. It's a precision frame but its perks make up for it. Rewind Round Frenzy is super good and so is Wellspring Frenzy. High B tier. Vouchsafe. If Tarnished Metal was the Arc Night Watch, then this is the Void version. Rapid hit explosive payload is just too good. High A tier, but just because there's another great Void option which we'll get onto in a bit. Contingency Plan. Decent pick round the board, subsistence one for all with a rapid fire frame can be very nice. Low A tier. Doom of Chelsis. Chelchis, whatever. Best scout in the game and anyone who says otherwise hasn't seen the perks. Explosive payload in the first column with Frenzy or one for all in the second. Not to mention Repulsor Brace and Firefly Dragonfly. Like, what? Ridiculous scout rifle, definitely S tier. Eternal Blazon, lightweight frame that can roll rapid hit one for all. Solid weapon, B tier. Hung Jury, super overrated. I want to stop comparing things to Nightwatch, but that's really hard considering this thing has the exact same role. Only difference, this is a less good frame. A tier. Long Arm, very unique scout rifle which I know isn't everyone's cup of tea. I personally love it though, and with a roll of rapid hit explosive payload, you can't go wrong. A tier. Nightwatch, finally ranking this thing. It's S obviously. For how ridiculously easy it is to get, it's incredible. Point made. Percy's D, again rapid hit explosive. It is the worst archetype though, so it feels horrible, low B tier. Now finishing up scout rifles, a gun I completely forgot about, Pallades Corrector. There ain't nothing correct about using this gun at all, it doesn't even have a good damage perk, C tier. Forgiveness, surprisingly not awful. It's a 2 burst making it automatically better than most sidearms. Can also roll demo multi-kill clip, B tier. High Albedo, much like the Kaling Confusion, I loved this weapon back on Beyond Light's launch due to the roll Cert plus Wellspring. It may be an adaptive 3 burst, but it's not that great, low B tier. Liminal Vigil, super interesting roll of Desperado Headstone. Never tried it personally, but it seems quite nice, A tier. Lonesome, unfortunately a precision frame so it's going straight in C tier. The perks don't make up for it either. Peace Bond, used to be really good, nowadays it's been power crept to low B tier. Subsistence Headstone is what you're looking out for, which doesn't seem great compared to Liminal. Punching Out, Feeding Frenzy Kill Clip, Feeding Frenzy Frenzy, Subsistence Frenzy, Overflow Frenzy. Literally any damage roll you can think of you can get on this weapon. Not a bad archetype either, high B tier. Redback 5SI. Someone told me in my TikTok comments that all the Viced weapons are actually named after venomous snakes and spiders. Fun fact that I didn't know. Anyway, despite it being named after a lethal spider, this thing is anything but lethal. Stats for all, one for all maybe? C tier. 7th Seraph Sidearm, slightly more lethal than the Redback but not by a lot. Demo surrounded might be nice but the archetype is awful, C tier. Spoiler alert, this next one isn't good. Get it? Because my spoiler alert, it's spoiler alert. I'll show myself out. It's C tier, not much to say. Fool's Remedy, decent archetype, decent perk combo of Feeding Frenzy Kill Clip, B tier. A Swift Verdict, that's exactly what I'm making on this one, C tier. Last Dance, 3 burst with Outlaw Dragonfly, C tier. The Keening, I'm always keen to get rid of this thing whenever I pick it up. There's some alright perks but I can't really get behind it, B tier. The Vision, never knew this weapon was a 3 burst but that's not enough to save it. Ambitious Assassin 1 for all maybe? C tier. Allied Demand. I actually never knew this weapon existed until making this video. I think I know the reason for that though. It's a single shot sidearm with Subsistence Frenzy. Not bad, but I'd like something other than a damage perk once in a while. B tier. Boudica C, a fitting name because that's the tier I'm putting it in. Precision Frame, no thanks. Brass Attacks, finally a sidearm I can get behind. Feeding Frenzy Rampage has always been my go-to role. It's a 2-shot as well, so it automatically gains points. High B tier. Brigand's Law. Yes, this is what a sidearm should be. Feeding Frenzy Volt Shot is just ridiculous on this thing, I love it so much. A sidearm kinda has to have ad clear capabilities to be worth using since the damage is usually abysmal. Volt Shot takes care of that. A tier easily. Drang, almost as good, but I prefer Volt Shot to Incandescent and Rapid Fires to Adaptives. Can roll Wellspring in the first column though, which gives this excellent synergy with solo builds. A tier. Losing our streak of actually good sidearms, we've got Empirical Evidence. Atrocious base stats and underwhelming perks, but it is a 2-burst and it has chemicals on the side, and if that doesn't excite you, I don't know what will. Low B tier. Enigma's Draw, atrocious archetypes and atrocious perks. Possibly the worst sidearm in the entire game, D tier. Farewell. No, it's not the end of the video, don't click off, I need the watch time. Subsistence Frenzy, lightweight frame, not a big fan, but it's not unusable, C tier. For the final section of the video, SMGs, probably the section you were all waiting for. Extraordinary Rendition. This thing is truly extraordinary. Overflow Frenzy is a brilliant role. If this was craftable, I would prefer it to Submission. One for All could be a good shout too, A tier. Forensic Nightmare. More like using this thing will be a nightmare because it has a precision frame and nothing good in the first perk slot. Headstone maybe for the second? I don't know. Low B tier. Friction Fire. Not a great option, not a nice archetype. Subsistence Rampage could be usable. C tier. Funnel Web. I know some people are going to hate me for not putting this in S, but I really don't think it deserves that spot. Subsistence Frenzy is really nice, but nothing that blows me away. There's also a few other good options for Void, so I'll give it a high A tier. Ikelos SMG. The old one, solid A tier. The new one though? Feeding Frenzy Volt Shot is phenomenal for ad clear and damage. If you haven't tried it yet, definitely go do that. S tier. Mida Mini Tool, not to be confused with Callus Mini Tool. This has the static roll hip fire grip kill clip, which isn't great by any means. Low C tier. Multimac, a really underrated pick for the kinetic slot. Subsistence 1 for All is nothing to scoff at. High B tier. Out of Bounds, this is an arc SMG which is surprisingly good for an arc build. Demo Golden Tricorn is great for ability builds, and Subsistence Adrenaline Junkie is literally a role found on Funnelweb. A tier. Pizzicato, more specifically the 22nd version. Even with that many versions though, they still didn't manage to get it right. Nothing great in the first column and nothing great to pair it with. C tier. Prolonged Engagement. If you're looking for a stasis SMG, this is the one. Subsistence Frenzy or Feeding Frenzy Headstone are both great roles. Tempted to go S here, but it's probably just A. Blood Feud. Prolonged Engagement overshadows this one entirely, but it stands out with the role Pugilist Frenzy for any melee focused builds. Not terrible, high B tier. 7th Seraph SMG. Very obviously lacking any sort of damage or ability perk. Also a precision frame. I can't bring myself to put an SMG in D tier though, so it's going in C. Shayura's Wrath. While this thing was the only Void SMG in the game, it was great. Now not so much. Perpetual Tricorn is decent, I guess? C tier. Stochastic Variable. I feel like people forgot how good this gun was once Witch Queen released. Feeding Frenzy multi-kill clip will always be an amazing role regardless of how much it gets power crept. A tier. Submission, arguably the best kinetic SMG in the game, can't go wrong with Overflow Frenzy, plus it's craftable, which gives it the edge over Rendition. S tier, but only by a bit. Hero's Burden, only reason this is good is because of Gerfalcons. When used with it though, it's really good. High B tier, but only because it's limited to that one build. The Title, super underrated pick, stats for a 1 for All on a 750 RPM SMG. Great for legend content too, since you don't actually have to kill anything for the perks to activate. A tier. Unforgiven, the main reason why I didn't put Funnelweb in S tier. Demo Frenzy will usually beat out Subsistence on Funnelweb. However, the base stats on Unforgiven aren't the greatest. However, you can also get Demo Repulsor Brace on Unforgiven and also Demo Tricorn. Furthermore, Bungie's adding energy specific reload mods which will negate the poor reload speed. I rest my case. S tier. Borrowed Time, another really underrated option. Only issue is you have to play Gambit to get it. Overflow Frenzy is what I'm personally going for. A tier. Callus Mini Tool. I don't think this weapon really needs an introduction. Easy S tier. Cold Front. Love the 7 stability on this gun, really makes it feel good to use. In all seriousness though, it's got some decent perks. Subsistence 1 for all ain't bad, B tier. Death Adder, without a damage perk this thing really struggles. Subsistence Dragonfly could be alright. High C tier. Enyo D, a precision frame but it can get Feeding Frenzy multi-kill clip. Not awful, B tier. Escape Velocity, kinda underrated these days. Overflow Surrounded is quite nice, especially after the buff to Surrounded, B tier. And finally, Every Waking Moment, B tier. That is every primary weapon in Destiny 2 ranked. If you agree with my rankings, let me know in the comments. If you disagree with my rankings, also let me know in the comments. That way I can farm audience engagement. No, that's not another Destiny weapon. Next up is the special weapons, so subscribe. Goodbye.